Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Philip Phillips, and I'm the Associate Dean of the University Honors College. Pleased to welcome everyone here to our lecture series on American values. Today we have a special presentation that is not on the main subject of our lecture series, and I would like to invite our Dean, Dr. John Weil, to come and make the introduction.
So it's a genuine pleasure to welcome Laura Clippard as our speaker today. We mentioned that I have been here 10 years, and if I've gotten it correctly, Ms. Clippard was actually the first hire that we made after I became dean. We have, as many of you I hope know, if you don't, you'll learn today, she heads up, in addition to being an advisor, she is head of our undergraduate fellowship office. And we have had great success. She may want to correct me on this, but I believe now in the last 9 years, I believe we have gotten 16 Fulbrights. We have had 8 successive years where someone has gotten honorable mention or a full Goldwater scholarship or both. That's consecutive years. And I think we've had close to that, about 8 or 9 consecutive years where we have had a national winner of the Phi Kappa Phi Awards. We've had Borden winners. We've had critical language scholarships. We've been able to help students with study abroad and the like. We've had a finalist for the Rhodes Scholarship. We've made nominations for the Marshall Scholarship, and we have a couple of sort of aspirational scholarships that we're still waiting for just the right person to come along. But of all the things that we do in terms of preparing you for what you're going to do after you leave MTSU, I can't think of many that are more important than trying to put you in some of these national and international scholarships. Ms. Clippard, by the way, got the Administrative Employee of the Year this year, for which we were very proud of her. And so I'm going to turn the floor over to her, and she'll tell you about our scholarships.
My name is Laura Clippard, and I love my job. I love what I do, and it's because I get to work with great students like you. So today, I'm going to talk to you about a sampling of some of the national opportunities available. I say a sampling because there's probably 200 different options that students can choose to pick from. And I can't go through all of those. They are on the Honors College website. So if you get some free time, you can look through these to see if there's perhaps other things. You can also email me and schedule an individual meeting. And then that way we can talk about your dreams, your goals, and that type of thing. The fellowship world, sometimes people will say, well, what is a fellowship? How is that different than a scholarship? A fellowship usually has something attached to it. So you can study in South Korea for 8 to 10 months with a Fulbright. You can have money and a national recognition from Phi Kappa Phi. So there's usually extra benefits to these fellowships. It's also a team effort. So Dr. Phillips, for example, serves on the Phi Kappa Phi National Fellowship Board. So on his own free time, he reads a set of applications and helps decide the winner. So he is very knowledgeable. And Dean Weil was awarded a Fulbright himself, and also has served on the National Fulbright Committee. So it really is a team effort. Let me explain these papers, okay? I'm going to talk about some fellowship opportunities, and at some point I may ask you if you are interested. There are no right or no wrong answers here. If I talk about a fellowship and you're really interested, you can hold a green up. If you're kind of interested, need more information, this is kind of, I'm not interested. And the orange is, I have a friend who might be interested. And then you can also hold up this red card that means that you have a question that you would like to ask me. So I'm going to start talking about some of the opportunities. The first thing is I like to start with talking about leadership. So leadership is going to look different according to your major and your career goals. So if you are in physics, like Beverly over here, She is going to probably be more involved in physics research, and I can't remember everything that you're doing, but it's really cool stuff. In NASA research, it's going to look a lot different than an English major who's maybe active in collage and is writing novels. So it's going to look really different, okay? But the one thing that you should know is you should keep track of what you do. And keeping track of what you do doesn't mean just writing down on collage staff. So if you're on collage staff, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? Are you helping with recruitment? Are you leading the meetings? So you need to define your leadership role, because the chances are you might end up writing about that in a personal statement. So when you think about your activities, think about your leadership role and how you've made a difference. And you want to keep your grades up. And I encourage students always ask. If you want to get involved, if you want to do an internship, ask your faculty, ask your advisor, ask a lot of questions to find out what's available. The other thing you want to do is you want to try to stand out. How have you made a difference? So having 20 leadership activities on your resume is not necessarily going to help you win over somebody that has 2 or 3, but then can define how they've made a particular difference. So I always like to pick, I think I know the answers for this. But the one thing, hopefully, that you'll take away from this, even if you forget some of the other fellowships, if you want a letter of recommendation from a faculty member, give them a month. A month. Don't give them a week. Don't give them 2 weeks. Give them a month. So, Dr. Phillips, I'm going to pick on you. I know the answer. What is the shortest time period that anyone requested a letter of recommendation?
The day of.
Okay. Dean Vile?
I got a double answer. Not only the day of, but I actually was guilty of doing the same thing myself this year.
When you ask for a letter of recommendation at the last minute, the faculty member a lot of times doesn't have time to do a thorough job. So when you ask for a letter of recommendation, you want to give them a list of your activities and a resume. You also want to tell them what they're writing about. So if you are applying for a leadership role, they want to emphasize your teamwork skills, your ability to public speak. So you want to tell them so that they can make those letters as strong as possible. Those letters of recommendation can make or break getting into graduate school, make or break a fellowship application. They really are quite significant, okay? They can explain things that perhaps you don't want to explain. Maybe you had a death in the family and you have one semester that's not as strong. A letter of recommendation can do that for you. So again, you want to try to give it a month. You also have to write a personal statement. Now, this is how students feel about writing personal statements. Raise your hand if you've ever written a personal statement. So a lot of you. Typically, students have 2 words to describe this. Not fun, okay? 99% of students don't enjoy writing about themselves. You know, when you do a personal statement, basically what you're supposed to do is talk about your academic background, your family background, things that have inspired you to do whatever you're applying for. So if you're applying for a Fulbright, why do you want to teach? Why do you want to do research? And it requires deep reflection, okay? So if you say, I really want to help others in the medical field, I would guess 99% of doctors want to do that. So you need to dig deeper. And that digging deeper can be a time-consuming process, so you want to get started with that early. There are a lot of benefits to applying. The one thing that I think consistently surprises students about this is it is time-consuming. But I just spoke with a student just a minute ago who applied for a national scholarship that they didn't get. But they told me that they could use their essays and their materials for other scholarships. So if you write a personal statement for a national scholarship, chances are you can use it for graduate school or other types of opportunities. So it really does sharpen your skills. So I'm going to start talking about some opportunities, but I'd like to start with Eureka. Basically, Eureka is not run through the Honors College. It's run through the Undergraduate Research Center. And it's the opportunity for you to get paid anywhere from $500 to $3,500 to do a research or creative project. So how many of you, because I'm pretty sure that there's some yeses in here, how many of you have received a Eureka grant of some sort? So a couple of you. If you are planning to do research or a creative project, why not get paid? Why not get that recognition? You can apply and receive a Eureka grant any semester. You can apply for summer, fall, or spring. You do have to have a faculty person that supervises and says that you did the work. If you're a science person, they're not going to stand over you 24/7 in the lab, but they have to certify that you did the work. The Eureka people have seminars every semester. They have a great website. So if you haven't done research, if you don't have experience, no problem. Okay? You can get paid $500 to do 60 hours of research in a semester. If you have experience, it goes progressively up as to the amounts that you can receive. So at this point, we'll be a little bit interactive. How many of you are interested, not interested, or have a question? So you can hold your papers up. So a lot of you are interested. Might have a friend who's interested. Okay. Any questions? I don't see any red papers at this point. So if you hold up a green paper, go for it. Do it. Okay? You have nothing to lose. Especially with the lower level Eurekas, it's only a 2-page paper to receive the $500. Now, if you're applying for the upper levels, you want to work with a faculty member to make your application really strong and more competitive, but it's pretty simple to apply. So I'm going to get into the fellowship world a little bit. We had a winner for this year, and we had 2 winners last year. This is the Critical Language Fellowship. It is run by the State Department, and these are the languages, okay? Basically, this opportunity allows students to travel during the summer for 8 to 10 weeks and study one of these languages. Now, these are open to all majors. So if you are science, if you are English, if you are history, that's good, as long as you can connect it to your long-term career goals. So let's say an example of this is you want to learn Hindi so that you can work in Bollywood. That's great. Or you want to learn Japanese, which is down here, so that you can be a business person. You have to tie it strongly to your career goals and complete an application. It is a series of short essays, but we've had winners the last 2 years. And I have served on the national committee. Judy El-Bakri has served on the national committee, and I'm trying to talk maybe Dean Viles and others into doing it as well. So for the Critical Language Scholarship, it typically opens in September and closes in November. It's a wonderful opportunity to gain language skills. Now, some of the languages do have prereqs. So these are beginning levels. You can typically apply without a background in it. But say that you want to speak Chinese, you usually have to have at least 1 to 2 years of college classes. So at this point, is there anybody that's interested or not interested? So hold your papers up. Any questions at this point? Okay. I got a green, so that's exciting. The Gilman Scholarship. I have worked with 14 people on this last Gilman cycle, so that's exciting. The Gilman Scholarship is sponsored again by the State Department, and you have to have a Pell Grant, which you either do or you don't in your financial aid package, and you have to go at least 21 days overseas. And then you have to tie your study abroad to your long-term career goals. The Gilman is less competitive than some of the other national opportunities, and the essays are fairly short. It's a pretty simple process. I've been a Gilman reader. Judy El-Bakri has been a Gilman reader. So if this is something that you're interested in, we can help you be as competitive as possible. The Fulbright is probably my favorite program. When I first got started with Fulbright, I read their manual from cover to cover. And the one thing that it said that just really tugged at my heart is it said the Fulbright's purpose is world peace. We want to make the world a better place through mutual understanding. So basically, we send Fulbright students overseas, and other countries send Fulbright students to us. And typically, you either teach as an assistant, an English assistant, you do research. They also have a new thing. There's not very many of these, okay? But they have about 10 to 12 graduate school programs overseas. That's an up-and-coming Fulbright thing. So you can get a graduate degree overseas. If you are awarded a Fulbright, you typically go about 8 to 10 months. They're looking for open-minded people. You are representing the U.S. You're supposed to be a positive role model. And I have Fulbright events coming up, okay? I have signs all over the building. I have signs around the building. So tomorrow at 3 o'clock, there is a Fulbright workshop in this room. Please come if you are interested. And then Wednesday and Thursday from 1 to 4 is drop-in. So for the drop-in sessions, you just come straight upstairs. I'm going to have information about CLS. I'm going to have information about Fulbright. I'm going to have information about how to write a strong Fulbright essay. So it's going to be very hands-on where you can stay 5 minutes if you're in a hurry. Or if you want to linger and talk with me, you can do that as well. With the Fulbright, typically they pay everything, including airfare, okay? It's very flexible. Sometimes you can bring dependents with you. So if you are married and or have children, sometimes they can come with you on your Fulbright. You can apply for a Fulbright while you're in graduate school. You can apply for Fulbright after you get your PhD. So the purpose of the Fulbright is ultimately for you to be a goodwill ambassador. And typically you spend 8 to 10 months overseas and either teach, research, or graduate school are the options. The other thing, graduate school and research also includes creative stuff. So if you dance, if you sing opera, if you make movies, there may be a Fulbright for you. So let me just pause. Anybody interested in the Fulbright? So, okay. Any questions? So I would love, yes. Oh, yeah, I got a question.
Where did you say the information meeting was?
Well, the one tomorrow at 3 p.m. on Tuesday is right here. So 1 to 4 on Wednesday and Thursday is upstairs outside 227, 226, my office. They have some long tables up there, and I'll have a bunch of Fulbright information there. And you can just breeze by. You can grab a few things if you're in a hurry. What I find is this time of year, you guys get really, really busy. And so I like to have drop-in events where people, if they want to stay 20 minutes, if they want to stay 5 minutes, they can get that information, and then they can get back to me on their convenience. Anybody else? If you want to go overseas, I have a list of opportunities. So TALK is for Korea. JET is you can teach Japanese in Japan. No, sorry, I said that wrong. They know Japanese. Teach English in Japan. There's Humanity in Action, where you do service and combined with political action. The public policy is also to help people go into public service careers. The Rotary piece is for conflict resolution. So I'm going to have a list of all this stuff upstairs on Wednesday and Thursday from 1 to 4. So I would encourage anyone who's interested in any kind of overseas stuff to drop by. We also have the Truman. Now, I love the Truman because I love to describe a perfect Truman candidate. A perfect Truman candidate is someone who has a lot of strong opinions, okay, and likes to argue, okay, argue their opinions. But they have an additional thing. They have put their money where their mouth is, and they are active in some aspect of the community or government or campus where they're trying to make the world a better place. The Truman pays $30,000 for graduate school. Typically, you apply when you're a junior, and they help pay for your master's or PhD program. Now, the other thing about Truman is if you want a Truman, after you get out of graduate school, for 3 of 7 years, something like that. They want you to work for some kind of nonprofit. Nonprofit could be a college. Nonprofit could be the Red Cross. It could be a high school. Anybody interested in the Truman? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a certain time limit in which we should work at this nonprofit? So for about a year we work there, about 3 years, 4 years?
There is. I don't recall what it is. I know that I think it's 3 of 7 years. But I have the specifics upstairs. But you can email me and I'll be happy to talk with you individually. The Goldwater. The Goldwater, we did have an honorable mention this year. The Goldwater pays up to $7,500. We're looking for people in the sciences who want to get a PhD and do lots and lots of research with their life. So anybody interested in this one? Okay, I see some green. Yes. There's also lots of good opportunities. I love these programs. These are called the REUs in the science world. Basically, you get paid between $8,000 and $7,000, and you get your housing and travel paid for. And they put you in a small research team from 10 to 8 people, and you work on a research program. There's about 600 of these in the U.S. You can apply as a freshman. If you're graduating this semester, it's probably too late to apply. But if you still have an open summer for summer of 2019, this might be a good option for you. We encourage students to apply to a wide range of programs. So you want to work at Vanderbilt, that's great, but let's look at Alabama too, okay? Or some less competitive programs. We also encourage students to start this application process early. Let us read your application, Dean Weil, and also let your science folks read it as well. So start early. National Institute of Health is where students do research overseas in health issues. It's usually in countries that are, third world, underdeveloped is some other language they use, but they typically are like Uganda and Africa and that kind of place. So in terms of other funding for science, we have the NSF, Let's Help Pay for Graduate School, and it's usually about $30,000 a year. And this is for science folks, math and science and engineering. So how many of you would be interested in some aspect of these science stuff? So if you're an English major, I know you're probably not. Okay, so a few of you. We also have the Udall Scholarship, which is an environmental scholarship. So if you're passionate about environmental issues, then this is a scholarship for you. Anybody agreeing on that one? Oh, good.
And also Native American emphasis.
Native American emphasis. We have other fellowships. These are really competitive. And typically what I do with this one is I have a team of faculty, including Dean Weil, that review the applications. Everybody's usually heard of the Rhodes. I think Bill Clinton had the Rhodes. It's for Oxford University. It requires 8 letters of recommendation. So the application itself is not terribly difficult, but it's very competitive. And this one in particular, you have to be under age 25 to apply. They like people who have good moral character, who are either energetic or athletic. You don't have to be an athlete if you can show that you have high energy in your life. And they like people who show leadership as well. Phi Kappa Phi. Dr. Phillips is really active in this one. But Phi Kappa Phi has study abroad scholarships. They have love of learning scholarships. And the fellowship, which we've gotten the last several years, pays up to $5,000 for graduate school. You have to be invited to join Phi Kappa Phi. But if you get that email, I would highly recommend that you join Phi Kappa Phi. So Dr. Phillips, do you want to say anything about Phi Kappa Phi or the fellowship in particular?
Well, I've stood before you 3 or 4 times this semester and made an appeal to you that if you have been invited to join Phi Kappa Phi, that you should. And I think that more than half of you accepted that invitation and will be inducted this coming Tuesday. I can say that having been involved with our chapter here at MTSU, we have a very active chapter. We have a chapter that is on the radar of the national office. We have a very good reputation, and we have a very strong track record of winning the $5,000 graduate fellowship. And it is one of my goals for us eventually to win one of the $15,000 fellowships. And I think that that's entirely possible because we put forward a very strong candidate every year. Another thing I would say about it is that if you're a member of Phi Kappa Phi and you want to pursue this fellowship, our chapter will support you. Let me rephrase it. We can only put forward one name for the Phi Kappa Phi fellowship, for that particular fellowship. And so that one person is going to be competing with the best person from all the other universities. However, if you put the effort into putting together a strong application and you go all the way through that process, our chapter gives awards to the people who've done that. So you can, it's smaller than $5,000 obviously, but we do provide a nice certificate and a nice cash award too. So, and again, going to Ms. Clippard's point, simply going through the process itself is beneficial because a lot of the things that you're doing in that application will help to strengthen other applications that you might be pursuing. So all of these things, they work together.
And whether you're in Phi Kappa Phi or another honor society, I encourage you to get involved and not just have it listed on an item. So I know that Dr. Phillips has talked with us about wanting students to be involved and to be student leaders. I know that you raised money for cancer. And you did some...
So, yeah, let me add to that too. One of the things that stands out, because all the candidates' applications that go into the national office are very, very strong applications. And so there are different ways that people can distinguish themselves from the crowd. And one of the ways is by, not only by being a member of Phi Kappa Phi, and not only by being a member of an honors college and taking honors classes and that sort of thing, but it's by being actively involved in the Phi Kappa Phi chapter. We have openings for student vice president in our chapter, and even if those are filled, we can find something for you to do if you're a member and you want to be involved in the chapter. We can find something for you to do. We have we raise money for cancer research, and we also participate in Habitat for Humanity. And we empower our student vice presidents to come up with other things that they may want to pursue and to take a leadership role in implementing a plan. So there are a lot of opportunities for you, and that can really pay off in the long run. And even if you don't get the Phi Kappa Phi fellowship and you're applying for something else, that's something that you can list on your application, that you're a student vice president, that you helped to organize this fundraiser for cancer research that you did, and you can list those things. That would strengthen any application that you're putting together.
I think there's a lot of value in the process. There are probably 200 different opportunities. Phi Kappa Phi, science, public service, and I think part of the process is learning about all the different opportunities that are available to you and pursuing that regardless of whether you win or not. Every time we submit a student for a national award, we want them to win really badly, but that's probably not realistic. We have had 11 people this year win national scholarships of some sort, so that's really good, and we're still waiting on our Fulbrights and some of our other national awards, but we want it to be a valuable process. We want you to learn from it and grow from it and help it make you a better person, because life is a journey, okay? We don't know where we're going to end up. We don't know what we're going to do. So it's about making the process a good one for you so that you can benefit from it. I think I'd like to pause at this point and just take questions about the different scholarships and how the office works. So at this point, I'm going to just pause and see what questions you might have. Yes, ma'am.
As for the Rhodes scholarships, does it cover like a full tuition and everything, or like what
Yes.
exactly does that all include?
The roads is usually 2 years. Okay, this is my memory. The roads is 2 years. It covers everything. Okay, it's a competitive process. They do have a GPA requirement. I think it's a 3.75 for roads, and then beyond that, good moral character. Okay, strong academics, strong leadership, and energetic. And how do you show energetic? I think you show that you're energetic by showing that I have done this and I have made a difference, whether it's in English or science. So, other questions about the roads? Okay. Usually probably about a year before you graduate. Other questions? Yes.
With the ICAP or PHI, is that just for like getting like master's, PhD, or could that also graduate school be considered medical school?
Yes, medical school is always a good option. So I know you're about a year away from graduation, so you would apply next spring. We start in the fall, but the application for Phi Kappa Phi. Yes.
With the critical English scholarships, that's something that I've always been interested in. But
Okay.
every summer I've had something to do like a study abroad or things like that. Do you guys have anything like that that's over like winter break?
There's not a critical language over winter break. There are study abroads over winter break. So if you're interested in studying abroad, the main office is in Petco Hall Room 206, 207. And you can drop by there Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday from 1 to 4 for study abroad information. But the critical language, to answer your question, is just during the summer. But for example, Dr. Phillips went over winter break to Thailand. So they do have those kind of programs available for students with busy schedules. Yes, ma'am.
What would be the best option for wanting to study like Latin languages or to teach English overseas to Latin speaking?
I have a list in my upstairs of opportunities to teach English overseas. So there is all kinds of different options. I usually ask students to be flexible when you look at that list. You know, don't go in your head, well, I've got to do it exactly this way. For example, there's the Princeton in Latin America, which you can go do an internship or you can teach English overseas. There's the Fulbright, there's the JET. I have a huge list in my office of opportunities that are overseas. There's a Peace Corps. I mean, if you want to go overseas, there's a lot of good opportunities for you to do that and get that paid for. Other questions? Yes, sir.
I just have a comment, only because I just went through this. I applied for the summer Eureka funding.
Okay.
And I would strongly recommend anybody who's thinking of going through the Eureka process to start on the IRB component, Internal Review Board, a month before.
Good
I went
tip.
ahead and did the whole thing, only to
Uh-huh.
find out that I didn't need to do it. And that a part of me died inside because it was a really involved process. So they could at least, at least start it early, a month before the deadline, so that if you have to do it, that gives you plenty of time, but also they could quickly assess.
Whether you don't have to do it?
Yes, yeah.
Did you apply for summer?
I did.
Okay, well, good luck.
Thank you.
But yeah, you want to, a month early is just a good number in general. You know, you want to get your stuff open, your drafts done, your letters of recommendation. You have to have transcripts. There's so many things that you just pop up in these applications. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned that like creative things could possibly apply for this.
Yeah.
But you also said 60 hours of research. So if you're doing something creative, are the requirements for that money a little bit different?
No. I should have said research or creative. So Eureka stands for undergraduate research. So the C is for creative, okay?
So like me doing something creative, they're not going to expect me to do 60 hours of like.
Well, they're going to expect you to do 60 hours of creative. And your professor will have to sign off that you actually did this. So if you are, we had a student who wrote Appalachian tunes, okay? So her professor had to certify that she did this. They also want you to present on Scholars Day, okay? So that you have to submit a paper after you do this work back to them, telling them what you did, and they also want you to present, but you want to do that, okay? So when you present, that's something else that builds your professional portfolio. So yeah, it can be creative. Singing, dancing, writing, all those good things, which I can't do.
You can also be recognized for your achievement because in addition to presenting your work, they have judges in different categories, and you have the possibility to win an award in your particular category. And that's a nice thing too.
Yeah. But what I find is that most honor students want to do research or creative projects anyway, so they're probably going to do it whether they get paid or not. So why not have that additional recognition and get a little bit of funding for it? These are good questions. Anybody else? Well, I guess I'm going to turn, Dean Weil, you've heard this presentation a number of times. Is there anything that, and I've done it a number of times, that I perhaps didn't include? And you can come up here if you want.
The only thing that I might add is, particularly if you're in the sciences, the success breeds success. So if, you may just be a freshman, but if you find a professor who is doing research here over the summer, or even somebody who needs help in a lab, if you can get your foot in the door, then you're going to have a lot better chance that second year to get an REU. And if you get an REU, you're going to be much better positioned to be able to get a Goldwater Award. If you get a Goldwater, then that's going to set you apart. It's surprising when you go through and look like at the Phi Kappa Phi or the Fulbrights, almost many times these are students who have already gotten some other kind of national or international recognition. So, we're giving you sort of a long vision of the best things out there, but don't ignore, especially with the new science building, we got lots of opportunities here on the campus, and frankly, more than a lot of colleges, the focus here is often more on undergraduate research than it is graduate research. So you will not find, that professors are ignoring you because you're not going for a PhD. So take advantage of that.
Dr. Phillips, is there anything you feel like I should add?
Well, I've mentioned about the Phi Kappa Phi, but I would say best advice is you've got the best resource possible here in Laura Clippard. And we're all a team. We all want you to be successful. And so we're all going to work together to help you achieve whatever you want to achieve. Ms. Clippard pointed out that it's best to plan ahead. It's always best to plan ahead for many, many reasons. But if you're at all interested in one of these fellowships, I would encourage you to talk to her and find out all the details and read up on it and plan it out so that you know what is expected of you, what is required when. Almost all of them are going to have some kind of a personal statement. Some of them may have more than one written component. You want to give yourselves plenty of time to work on those, because any piece of good writing is the product of multiple revisions. Multiple revisions. So you want to give yourself enough time to be able to do that and to write and to receive constructive criticism, go back to that, work on it some more, go through that process and then let some other people read it. Keep working on it because you want to have the most polished documents possible. The other thing with letters of recommendation, why come to somebody a month ahead of time? Well, because people have different schedules. They have research commitments, they've got administrative commitments, they're teaching classes, any number of things. And so you want to be able to give your recommender enough time to be able to put together a good letter for you. And you want to do everything you can to provide your letter writer with the kind of information that he or she needs to write you a very good letter. Because if you're applying for something that requires 3 letters of recommendation, you may want to identify, first of all, identify 3 people who know you well, who understand your academic accomplishments and your academic aptitude, or other abilities that may come into play. And ask people who know about you in different ways and can attest to the particular strengths that are being looked at for the particular fellowship you're applying for. Does that make sense? Your letters of recommendation are extremely important, and the people you ask to write them really matter. This is not something you want to put off until the end, because if you're applying for these sorts of things, you want to be as competitive as possible, and that's one of the ways to do it.
Okay. I would like to add that I am going to put some science materials out at my Fulbright workshop, my Fulbright drop-in hours from 1 to 4 on Wednesday and Thursday. So even if you're not interested in overseas, I am going to have a little bit of science there just because I had a science activity and I still have that stuff going. But at this point, I think I would encourage you to contact me. I'm here during the summer if you're really busy. So I thank you for your time, and I appreciate you.